Yep, yep, yep. Good afternoon. This room is not as filled and hot as it was last time. I guess the filters working was more interesting. So first I just want to set a few things that's straight that has been said. I do want to begin by thanking the leadership of Port Authority, Senator O'Toole, the President over there as well, and all of the folks that worked on this, particularly in our office as well, the law department, our outside counsel, Dakotas, the business administrator, everybody who, and even the previous business administrator, Jack Kelly, who initiated this kind of settlement that we've had with Port Authority. We've been going back and forth with Port Authority for some time. So this did not come as a result of just the lead pipe crisis in the city of Newark or issue. The Port Authority did not give us a grant to take care of lead pipes in the city. This had absolutely nothing to do with the issue around the lead service lines in the city. We are, however, grateful that we were able to settle this during this time period. Obviously, it's not lost on many that, we anticipated trying to get this done now, and we thought that it would definitely be a benefit to us in the city of Newark when we decided to take a $120 million loan from the Essex County Improvement Authority. We knew that we had an opportunity to be able to get money for infrastructure and other things that we'll be able to use in the city, but we're definitely going to use this money to help us pay the debt service around the $120 million that we borrowed from the county. I know there have been a lot of folks wondering about how we would pay the debt service. Obviously, this is one of the ways that we get it done. There are other options in the future if the president signs the legislation that was passed by the House and the Senate that allows money to be used for this purpose in the state. We are going to try to go after some of that money, which would allow us to get 0% interest and pay on this debt without using money that we just acquired or getting ready to acquire from the Port Authority. So all this comes at an opportune time. Obviously, we're grateful and happy that it happened at this time. God is good. We just want to make sure that folks understand that our dealings with Port Authority was long before this issue took place, but we're absolutely going to use the money to pay the debt service around the $120 million, which should make Moody's happy, and the taxpayers as well. So I'll take any questions that people have. Yes. Well, at this point, we estimating about $6 million that it'll be over the course of the loan.
And how long is the loan?
30 years.
30 years. So at this point, then, for folks who are getting their lead service lines in place, it's absolutely no cost. It's not $1,000,
No.
taxes don't pay.
Right. They won't have to pay anything, and they're not going to have to pay anything on the back end that people have been floating around. They're not going to pay. There's not going to be an increase of their water bill and their taxes because of this. And the county doesn't own everything in the city now that we borrowed $120 million that people said. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Yesterday, your office sent a press release that linked this money to aid the lead service line replacement. And today, it appears that you're sort of backtracking on that a little bit. Did you get any push from the Port Authority?
No. Backtracking? No. We already got the money to replace lead services. So we would never have used the Port Authority money to replace lead service lines. We already have them. Well, I think that what they were actually saying is to help us pay the debt service. And that's really what this is about, the debt service. We already have the money to pay for the lead service lines. The Port Authority money, which is, once we get the deal done, it becomes our money. We can do whatever we want with it. So we are electing to use it to pay debt service.
So, Mayor, can you just break it down for us? Out of the $5 million yearly, how much goes to debt service, how much goes to other things, and what other things?
Well, at this point, we're gonna use as much of it as we possibly can for debt service, if not all of it, you know, for the debt service. We are still going after monies that prayerfully the federal government says is okay through the president signing off on the legislation that the House and the Senate came up with, and getting the governor's office to agree that we can use some of that to pay down our debt. One, and I got you.
I have a two-part question.
Yep.
I just want to be clear, first and foremost, is any of this money going to be used to quicken the lead service?
No, none of the money is used for replacing lead service lines at all. We have all of the money we need to replace lead service lines. So again, all of the $120 million will replace every lead service line in this city, and the lead service lines that we're electing to replace in other cities. The money that we're getting from Port Authority will help us have the opportunity to pay the debt service on that $120 million that we borrow. Just so everybody's clear.
Mr. Mayor, when you say other cities, are you talking about like Belleville, for instance?
Yes, Belleville, about 500 lead service lines in Belleville. A few other lead service lines in Hillside as well. Yes, you wasn't finished?
Yeah, so I wanted to ask a little bit more about
Yeah.
the actual contract behavior between
Sure.
the Port Authority.
Yep.
Because, it's my understanding this has been a long-standing issue with the Port Authority, that this property.
What has been a long-standing issue?
This property and the contract that the city has always wanted the Port Authority to
Oh.
pay for. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So, to get this additional, it's $5 million upfront and then $5 million annually for the next 30 years.
Yep, yes, ma'am.
So did the city have to, you know, give, like, let go of anything in order to get more money? How does this work?
So the contract, which is, can be made available to you, says very specific things. One is a dispute we have over Port Street, right? Port Street is a street that goes into the port, direct where the trucks go in and out of. The city's contention was that Port Street belongs to us. They had another interpretation of that. That's one issue. And they'll be able to use and widen Port Street for safety purposes and allow trucks to come in and out of there. That's one of the pieces. The other piece is our fiber. So we are going to work out an agreement where they're going to pay for it, but you know, we are going to give them the opportunity to use our fiber in the Newark Airport and Seaport based on an agreement that we set coming forward. We also get a port and seaport administrator that they are going to pay for down there, which would help us keep an eye on the things and be clear about what's happening at the Port Authority. There's also a dispute that we had over the lease itself that we've always had. So in agreement for that, we have agreed that for 10 years that we won't bring any action against them as long as they move forward on this thing for 10 years. So I agreed to the 10 years because I think that is reasonable for me. It also doesn't lock everybody else out of it, you know, once I'm gone. It doesn't lock everybody else out of the opportunity to go back to the table and begin to discuss other issues that they may have with Port Authority. So it's not in perpetuity. We went back and forth on those issues. And so, I mean, that's the extent of it. Those are most of the meaty part of what the arrangement is.
Mr. Mayor, I know
Yes.
you said that this money isn't going directly to repairing the lead service lines.
Right.
Does this money change the timeline or the pace at which those repairs are?
No. The timeline is based on the $120 million loan. That's how we were able to expedite it to 24 to 30 months because of the $120 million. This Port Authority agreement helps us, like when you decide to buy a house. If you can't pay the mortgage, you got to get a house back, right? You're going to get foreclosed on. It helps us not to get our loan foreclosed on, right? So helps us to pay the debt service without raising the taxes or water bills. For example, Newark is the only major city in the state of New Jersey that owns and operates its own water system. Any other water purveyor that changes lead service lines are going to put the bill on the homeowner because it's their property, it's private property. And in fact, that is what's happening as we speak. There are water purveyors who are now fixing lead service lines, who are in turn trying to put the bill on the homeowner, right? We would have to do that as well if we do not find additional dollars to pay down the debt service. This opportunity with Port Authority helps us to do that in a clean way. Right. So I would say we replaced over 1,000 at this point, right? The contracts are very aggressive. I believe they have to, between the two major contracts, they have to change about 50 lead service lines a day, which would probably amount to about 1,000 a month that they have to change. So, we're looking to have most of this stuff taken care of in about 10 to 12 months, right? And, given any eventualities of water, of rain, of weather, of anything else, we should be on course for that, right? So very, very aggressive. I think this is probably the most aggressive program that's happening in the entire country. We're the only city in America that is fixing their lead service lines without the help of anybody else who've raised their own dollars and raised their own money to pay the debt service at the same time in 24 to 30 months. We're the only city that's going to be able to do that as we move forward. No pressure. Nobody called me, and so there's no pressure. We had a sense of urgency, obviously. I did. I had a sense of urgency myself. So we could be in court for 2 or 3 years, going back and forth about a whole bunch of things. One of them being a street, right? Port Street. We with the help of Dakotas and our folks, began to negotiate these things back and forth for at least a year or so now, right? So we just came to an agreement this presently to be able to get this done, right? So.
Mr. Mayor, it seems like this
I
was
got you.
something the Port Authority might be proud of as well. Is there any reason why there aren't any Port Authority officials here right now?
Well, I don't. You got to ask them. I think they're going to do their own, kind of release a statement. But I don't think that they. I think that they too do not want to conflate the issues. And I know it's easy to conflate the issues. They don't want it to appear that this is just about lead service lines, because in all actuality and factually, it's not, right? We started these agreements and this negotiation years before this even became an issue for us. Yep, I got you. One? No, these two. She's the last one.
Mr. Mayor, what is the ambassador
I
program?
got you.
The ambassador program, what does that stand for? Help folks go door to door to get the homeowners?
Well, the state is still putting it together, but Newark, we're going to move forward. We have already began to stock the rec centers with the filters again, and we're getting ready to bring folks in to have classes to teach people how to use filters, to begin going out in the community and doing that as we give the filters out at the same time. So we're going to move forward without that right here.
Thank you again. So how much was the previous contract with the Port Authority, and do you believe that?
The previous contract? I'm not sure off the top of my head.
But do you think that Newark is finally getting its fair share from the Port Authority?
Well, the land on the Port Authority now is probably worth $2 million an acre. You're talking about 1,000 acres of seaport alone. So we could do the mathematics on that if there wasn't a port, an airport and a seaport, and they're very valuable to the region. If it was developed land, it would mean a whole lot of revenue for the city, but that's not the case. They have a long lease that began before us and is going to supersede us. It's going to go on and on and on. We're just happy that we were able to come to an agreement with them at this particular time. And I wanted to make sure that any agreement we came to with them did not kind of hamstring anybody else who would come after us.
Mr. Mayor, just to double check with the mayor.
She's the last question, but go ahead.
Yeah, just double check. There is still plans to distribute bottled water indefinitely until the project's over, correct?
Indefinitely? No. No. Actually, we're scaling back the distribution of bottled water it's actually not advantageous for us health-wise to keep giving out bottled water, because we actually need people to use the water. We need the water to be used and move through health-wise, because if the water remains stagnant and the use of the water goes down, the disinfectants in the water begin to evaporate, right? The orthophosphate becomes less effective or longer to become effective in the pipes if we don't use the water. It's smarter for us to have people use the filters so they can use the water, particularly if we know the filters are working. We want them to use the filters in the city to begin bringing the water use at its normal rate. No, I don't know. I know Port Authority has a lot of money. I don't know where else they're going to get it from, but I know they generate a lot of money. You should go to the Port Authority meetings when they do their revenue report. It's a lot of money.
When do you think you'll actually stop distributing bottled water? What's your timeline?
I can't give you I can't give you a definite on that. We do have a lot of water. We're going to distribute it until it's no more. But ultimately, we're going to go back to the filter distribution. The orthophosphate is having an impact. Prayerfully by the end of the year, it'll have a greater impact than it's even having now. And we're still going to change the lead service lines anyway, though the orthophosphate, we're very confident is going to work in the Pequannock system and reduce people's lead levels. We're going to remove the lead lines because we don't want 10 years, 20 years from now for people to say the orthophosphate is not working. So I'm not going to be here 20 years from now, God willing, but the lead pipes will be leaving with me. So thank you.
State of the water and the pure demonstration.
Tomorrow, right? We're having a State of the Water October the 2nd at NJPAC, 6 p.m. We're also doing a health and fair outside and having teaching people how to put their filters on, demonstrations out there as well. So all of you are invited to come. Press 2. You're invited to be there. Hopefully you'll come out and get some information from us. Thank you.